Okay, hi. I'm going to go ahead and get set up. We'll start the training in just a little minute, but if you're here, say hi in the chat, let me know. And I'm going to make sure I can share my screen and get started right at the top of the hour. So hold on just a sec. All right. All right, I think we are set up. Looks like a couple people are in the room. Welcome. I'm going to go through what I don't work for Evernote, but what Evernote has accomplished in 2025. We'll do a feature recap. And if you're here, would love to hear from you. Make sure you can see my screen. Make sure you can hear me. All those fun things. Anybody that can confirm that in the chat would be welcomed to hear from you. Otherwise, we're going to begin really quickly. I'm going to just assume the best. And then this is a little bit of a problem. I can't move I'm kind of limited in what I can do. I'll get better with the YouTube lives, I promise. Thanks, Lene. I appreciate that. Good. Thanks for being here. All right. So YouTube Live's a bit of a learning curve for me. Hi, David. Greetings from the UK. Can see screen and hear. Wonderful. All right. Well, we already have success. I am learning YouTube Live. I already did better. I didn't start 10 minutes early, so this is progress. But as I go through the process here, I will learn more and figure out how to make sure you all can see my screen. Like it looks like I've got to kind of do that to make it all visible. Let me close some things here. All right. Yeah, I wish I could move my avatar, but I cannot. So there's that. Edit. Let me see. I'm going to look at customization here real quick. All right. So it's just a limitation of using this. We'll see if I can figure that over time. So there you go. We're going to go ahead and get started. All right. Welcome. I can see you guys popping in here. I'm glad you all are here. I hope that there's time for Q&A at the end, but there was a lot to cover in 2025, and I want to give you guys kind of an overview. This is going to be based upon Evernote's own blog post, and I'm going to go through their blog post with their words. And what I'm going to do that's different than you just reading it is I'm going to actually demo the features for you so you can kind of see them as we go along. And I'm going to also, there's some things they didn't mention and I think are noteworthy. So I'm going to talk about those as well. So this is kind of your feature recap. I assume everybody here is a user, and we're going to try to give you a good summary of what happened in 2025 in Evernote land. So the first thing that I think is relevant to discuss is Bending Spoons as a company and ownership. There were a lot of notable changes with them that I think are important to understand or at least be aware of if you're going to really embrace Evernote. You want to know who the ownership is. And if you're not already familiar, I think everybody is at this time, but they're a Milan-based company, but they are really, in addition to being a tech company that owns and operates the assets that they have, they really are a private equity firm as much as they are a technical tech company and tech giant at this point. They are very acquisition minded. They differ from a private equity firm in that they currently have not sold any of their assets, and they have publicly stated that that's not their plan. But I just want to cover, this has been big news for Bending Spoons this year, even though it's not directly related to Evernote, it does have ripple effects to Evernote. So I think it's important to understand. Obviously, they own Evernote, which they acquired in November 2022, closed in January 2023. They also own WeTransfer, Meetup.com, Issue, StreamYard, Remini, Vimeo. This was new in 2025. That closed at the end of November. They purchased AOL. That made international news. So that is closing, I don't know when, maybe today, tomorrow, maybe in a couple of days at the beginning of the year. And then they announced before the end of the year also that they've agreed to purchase Eventbrite, which should be closing soon as well. And this isn't their full suite. They are on an acquisition trajectory. And they also, again, if you study bending spoons, which I've been doing quite a lot, they articulate that they have a buy and hold and then transform kind of strategy. So when Evernote was purchased in 2022, everybody was like, bending who, right? We'd had no idea. Now the world is talking about bending spoons, especially because they've received an $11 billion valuation. And the thing that I think is relevant for Evernote users to understand is the impact that this has on Bending Spoon's ability to recruit and retain top tier engineers. It's part of their ethos, and they find and develop promising talent. And if you want to be with a tool that is progressive and contemporary, you want to be with a team and a company, or at least you want to be with a company and a tool that can recruit and retain engineering talent. So I really think we've kind of seen that this year. And I just wanted to start the presentation by positioning the company that way, so that you all can make informed decisions about if Evernote's the right tool for you. I also will point out, because it always comes up, I just as anticipating the question, like, how does that, you have to decide like about privacy policies and all of these kinds of things. And they have not changed anything from the 3 laws of data protection. Obviously, they are Milan based. So GDRP and some of those tighter security restrictions apply to the company. But these are types of things that you all need to really review. And they have a very clear privacy page, privacy policy, but we haven't seen any real notable changes in that, even though it obviously continues to evolve and something you want to kind of keep an eye on. But those of us who were with Evernote before and comfortable with those policies, we find that they still are in place. And we've even got some security news that I'll cover in just a minute. All right. So that's Bending Spoons as a company. Now let's talk specifically about what they've done with Evernote since they've owned it. So in 2023, this was really about platform technical foundations and a very big transformation. So they kind of rebuilt and reestablished the code base that Evernote was built upon. They retired legacy Evernote in 2024 and really just started to reflect and rapidly release features on this new foundation. So we didn't see a lot of change in 2023, but then 2024, 100 plus improvements. And that's continued this year to be 160 plus improvements. And next year, they've announced that they're going to be releasing version 11 plus the feature innovation should continue. So it's really just been remarkable, the transformation that we've seen in Evernote and the evolution of Evernote under Bending Spoons, with really 260 plus improvements since they've taken over the app. I'm going to cover the top of the 160 that they did this year in this presentation, kind of a highlight reel. And I'll be curious to hear in the chat, like, what your favorite new feature has been. It's always interesting to kind of hear, but no doubt that things have been moving along. So they have, let's just go through this, a 2025 development overview. This is taken from their blog post. I've got you can look this up. This is the title of it, Our Most Productive Year, 160 Plus Improvements. So I just copy and pasted it. And so these are their words in regards to what they say. In January to June, so the first 6 months of the year, they had 110 improvements in just 6 months. And they really focused on the note editor, search innovation, collaboration, customization, and AI features, along with overall performance. No doubt that performance improvements was the main story of the first half of the year. Their blog post that I'm basing this off of does not focus heavily on what they already did in the first 6 months. I do talk about some of them as we move along, but the result, as they say, is a faster, more reliable Evernote designed to help you stay organized, productive, and creative. And we definitely saw that. So with 110 improvements, they have a whole blog post that covers that. You can reference that on their blog as well. And we'll cover several of them here. The second half of the year, the pace of innovation in terms of feature release slowed down. So we only had 50 new improvements across the editor, core workflows, and search, along with incremental improvements to new features in beta. So what they don't say here, and they say it later in their post, is their focus really shifted to developing the version 11 that we're going to see come in January. That's when it's expected. So that is something they discuss in the post as well, and we will talk about that as we go along. All right, so that's kind of the summary of what happened in 2025. Now let's get into it and talk about the key features, and this is how they organize it in their words as well. So let's go through them. So they start with grouping it around editor and core workflows. So obviously the note editor, as they say, is the heart of Evernote. And they've continued to refine that experience. It's more intuitive, simpler and smoother. And I love this concept. Like, and I have observed this as an important point of view. They've removed friction. Okay. And I love that. The more you can, I call these micro efficiencies. So the more that you can remove that friction, the more efficient you are in little tiny times in a lot of ways. And it now allows you to save ultimately a lot of time with Evernote. Okay. So they've removed friction from core workflows like creating, organizing, and formatting notes. So how did they do that? Let's look at specific commands. So they've improved the / command menu, and they talk about that they're constantly looking for new ways to make / commands more versatile and useful. So we can now activate the / command menu inside of headers and tables. You can make a typo and correct it without having to re-trigger the menu. So it's just a teeny tiny efficiency, but it makes a big difference when you're especially moving quickly. And you also don't trigger it as quickly. It used to be really sensitive when they first released it. If you type the / command and then a space like within a, or if you type spaces like within your sentences, it was triggering this / command. Super annoying over time. And I'll demo how it's working now, but you might have just noticed or not even noticed. See, that's the thing about a lot of these developments. It just makes your experience better. You don't necessarily notice that there's been an improvement. It just reduces the friction, which is delightful. But noteworthy, and I'll show you this in a second, they added 16 new options to speed up note-taking while typing. So power user move is to use your keyboard, not have to take your hands off of it. And now all of these options that we have up here in the menu are now pretty much accessible via the / command, which is great. You know, I don't have to go up here to click highlighter or add a bulleted list. You could always use key commands and power users would do that, but now a lot more people are going to discover it via the / commands because they're there. So that includes everything that's up here. There's dynamic date mentions at today. I'll demo that for you. Google Calendar events, audio recordings, and more formatting tools. And then they didn't mention this, but they did group and organize them. So it's a lot more intuitive. And they added something that I just talked about in my last newsletter. If you're not already subscribed to my newsletter, you'll get details like this, but aliases, which are, I might call it a task, but you might call it a to-do. And Evernote has taken that into consideration. And now when I / type that either of those, I'm still activating the same function. So what that means is if I type the /, you can see here that the menu is longer than it used to be because it includes a lot more options. Look at all these font colors and everything like that. We've got all these utilities. In addition, they've added the key command here so that you have more visibility to it and can start to kind of learn those. That activating the key command is actually even quicker than the / command in many cases. And you can see that all of these media and AI features that are coming, including AI meeting notes, are accessible right here in the menu. So it's kind of interesting that it's showing. Let me make this full size. But obviously, if I do this and cite today, see how it puts, that's an alias. That just allows me to put in the current date right there by typing today. So again, that's this alias function, which is just a nice little efficiency. And let's type in calendar. See, I can do an event and I can pull it in and add that, my calendar event right there, and associate it with the note. All these things are now accessible within it. And then I love, again, like if I want to make this red, I can make my text color red, and text is now red. Okay. All without taking my hands off the keyboard. Really powerful. It doesn't feel like this massive innovation, but there's no doubt that it makes a huge difference in your note taking, which obviously it's called Evernote. So it's a note taking app. Love all of these features. All right. They also have improved the markdown support for consistent formatting. So they released this they've been releasing and incrementally improving their markdown support. And basically the layman's term of this is that when you copy and paste content into Evernote, it keeps the key formatting like bold, italics, heading, lists, links, and block quotes. So, and then as of November, they formatted for pasted tables and bullet lists to stay intact too. So let's look at an example here. If I just have a note and I say I'm going to bring this over here, launch this site. So this is my website with some training. You can see there's header formatting and information. If I go and copy this onto my clipboard, then I come over here to Evernote and I paste it, this formatting was retained because of the markdown support. Okay, so that's different than I did a different type of paste. This is how it used to be. It wasn't necessarily holding the header. That was a paste special, but just as you can see, paste and match style, that removed the formatting, versus the first one, the paste held the formatting. So a lot more, this is a lot more intuitive for most people. They want to see that. And now you have the option for it as well. All right. Lots of changes to mobile as well. They have improved the note headers. So note details are now easier to scan at a glance. You can also add tags at the top of the note without digging through menus. So it's really hard for me to demo two different screens at once, but I put a screenshot in here. If you're looking at a note, you can see the path. So I can see that this note lives in this space and this notebook. It mirrors the information that we have in the breadcrumbs at the desktop app as well, and web. Also, you can see that tags were added up here. So tag the users have been quite happy about that. And now you can see them at the top versus where they were on the bottom, okay, without digging through menus. They were a little buried before. This one I love. Okay, this is one of my favorite features of the year. So mobile multi-select notes. So in August, they updated the mobile client to allow you to do what's called bulk actions or work with multiple notes at once. This is one of the reasons that the desktop app is so powerful, is that we can use bulk actions. We can move a bunch of notes at once. For example, we now have that option on mobile. So this is a screenshot that I took of it. And here's how it works. Anytime you're in a note list, so this is a notebook that I'm viewing on my mobile device. If you go to this more actions menu here, and then you choose select notes, you'll get these little dots here. You can pick multiple notes, and then down at the bottom, you can choose to move them or tag them. And there's some extra options here. Now we can you can actually file notes from your mobile device more efficiently as a result of this. Really, really nice improvement. One thing I do want to mention is you don't have all the features that you have on desktop with bulk actions. For example, I can't merge notes on mobile. It's a limitation it doesn't currently exist. You'd have to still do that on desktop, but this is a big step forward in the right direction and a really nice function for making your organization easier on the mobile device. I've always talked about how the mobile device is great for capture and find, but it's been tough for organization. A big reason why is because you don't have the ability to mass move notes. Now we do. So nice improvement. Okay. They also didn't mention this in the article. These are my notes. Additional mobile improvements that they didn't mention is just generally the speed. I can't tell you how many times I'm talking to users and they talk about how the speed and performance of mobile has just dramatically improved for all clients. This was really a feature that was discussed in their earlier blog post because they tackled this at the beginning of the year, but I just wanted to mention it in the recap because it's noteworthy and noticeable. Also, we have draggable sections. So you see here, I can drag and drop different sections and reorder them. If I want to put this under here, I can do that. We now have that function on mobile as well. If you haven't tried it out, give it a try. It works. So just click and pause, click and hold, or tap and hold, and then drag and move it around. Easy to do. All right. Moving on, a smoother audio recording experience. So within September and October, they made great changes to the audio recording. And this is kind of what set them up for AI meeting notes. You can see that audio recording is easier to access and control. You can now pause and resume recordings, start a recording from the insert and slash menu. We could never do that before. And on desktop, we can actually move to other notes. So let me demo this. First, I can go audio. Okay, and notice when I do that, it brings up three things. If I want to do a remote, okay, I'm going to say where, and now it's recording. So this is UI is all improved and a lot clearer. In addition, if I want to pause it, I can. So I can just pause and resume anytime, no problem. If I want to navigate to another note, it moves down here to the bottom and is still recording, even though I've moved into another note. So that's really great. If I want to go back to the note, it's here. And then when I stop, this actually set me up. And you can record for, I mean, there's got to be some limit, but you can record for quite a long time. This is the basis, though, for the transcription feature, which is a version 11 feature that's in beta preview for probably today for almost 100%, if not 100% of paying users. There are some limits on this. We'll talk about this in just a minute, but this is the foundation. And regardless of if you use the AI transcribe, all of these are improvements to that audio recording and make things really powerful within the feature as well. Okay, they've increased better link display options. This I love too. This is on my highlight reel. I love, love, love this. And those of you who are into note links, which that's the single feature that transformed what I realized was possible with Evernote. So I talk about this a lot in the Academy. Note links are essential to how I organize and manage my account. Innovation in note links. We've seen tons of it under Bending Spoons, and now there's some new options. Links are now easier to recognize and customize in your notes, so you can choose how they appear. We now have a mention, a plain text, and a content preview. So let's look at it this way. Here, I'm going to copy a web link, okay, and we're going to paste it here. Okay, so there you go. That is one format. If I hover here now and go here, notice I have other formats. So if I want to preview it, this is actually pulling in some metadata from the page as well as a little image of it. And I can also choose a mention, which gives me, again, some of the metadata and the avatar from this site. And when I hover over it, I'm getting an even more detailed view. So that is the what happens with external links. Let's talk about internal links. This is even more exciting. So I'm going to cut this, or I'm going to copy that. This is an internal note link. Let me show you the difference. That's a bug, by the way, which I have let them know about. They are fixing it. Don't cut and paste today your mentions, your note links that are in mention format. Doesn't work. That I expect will be rapidly fixed. So let me try this. It's not working as I want. Okay, so I'm going to copy a note link there. I just put it on my clipboard. Okay, first thing is, it looks slightly different. If I hover over it, it previews it. It has a little icon. This is how I know that it's an internal link versus an external link. They both hover to blue, so that tells me it's a link, but it's the icon that tells me that this is external versus internal. Note links have this. This is the new format called mention. I can put it as a text. That's what you're traditionally used to seeing. And I have title, which I would love to hear in the comments if you found a use case for this. I don't know when I would use title. There's probably one, but I haven't found it. And then there's preview, which is telling me the note. And if there was an image in the note, I'd probably see it. But let me show you why mentions are so powerful. So this is going to transform this. And here it's going to be, now I'm going to change the note title. Let's go back. The note, oh gosh, sorry about that. I meant to hit the back button. So cool. Or am I? The note title gets updated automatically in mention mode. I think this is my favorite feature of 2025. quite frankly. This is going to transform workflows. We're going to be talking about this a lot inside my academy. This really makes it very powerful to have project management notes that have links to multiple note links. I often call them table of contents note. It's different than the table of contents feature, but this unlocks a lot. I know there's several genealogists in my academy that are loving this because they get new information. They change the note title, but they're linking a lot of related information together. Really, really powerful. And you as a user have the option to choose what you want by default. So let me show you that here. If you go here to your settings and you go to the notes, if you go to links and attachments, you'll notice that I can set my Evernote links to always be in the mention format, which is my preference these days. And web links, you can choose whatever you want. You can have it be the same as mention or the preview or text. And you can control that at the default level. And then you have the ability to override this on a link by link basis. So if for some reason this didn't work for you and you wanted the original text link, you could change it. But again, you're in control of that. So really, really cool. All right. Note links. I love it. All right, let's talk about some additional things. Improved insert menu. So this is really closely related to the / command, but in November 2025, they made the insert menu, which is up here. You can see this here. Easier and more intuitive to use. Very, very similar. It matches the / command in terms of the groupings and the function. It's not as obviously these all still exist in the menu bar, so they don't necessarily exist here, but actually they might. I can see. It looks like they do here. You know, you've got your list commands and such. I don't know if it's got red. Okay, it doesn't have the colors and such, but it does have the groupings, which that was a frequent request. The other thing is I could say, okay, I can favorite now so that it always appears at the top of my list. You can pick and choose your favorite options and highlight them or remove them anytime you like. Okay, so we can't do that in the / commands, the / commands, but we can do it in the insert menu. Okay, you can also insert text styles and list items directly into your notes. Okay, yeah, so they are allowing you to put text out, like they move these headers into here, so that's good too. They also, you can see again, they're previewing the key command over here, which is a great little tip. It's almost like a tool tip that kind of helps savvy users get familiar with those features as you go through things. And then, yeah, keyboard shortcuts are now clearly visible, making it easier to edit as you type. So if I learned the key command for a header, I can call this this is it should have gone. Doo-doom. So that's interesting. Insert header should have been right there, right? So that I would call a bug, but you can also type H2, medium header, and have the new header here. Okay. You see what they're going for. Over time, it should work very reliably. Okay. Yeah, need a space after the double pounds. I agree. Oh, yeah, there you go. Okay, so now I have an H2 header. Thank you. H2 header. And then if I want 1, 2, 3 space, H3 header. And you can see that's reflected up here as well. Okay. Thank you so much. All right. In addition, they didn't just do this for the desktop and web client. They really revamped for the insert menu on mobile as well. You have these groupings here that mirror your experience on desktop and mobile, and you can favorite these as well. So, and you can search for them too. So you have this little search button. Vast improvement over what it was before. You probably noticed it, but it's so easy to forget how it was. You just have to like scroll. The search function alone makes things so much easier on mobile. All right. How many of you knew you could perform inline calculations? You may have noticed it, but if you type 2 plus, let's see, I'm going to take the italics off and go 2 plus 4 equals. Look at the 6 preview. If I hit enter, it calculates for me. So In November 2025, they can release the ability to do basic math as you type, so you can make helpful calculations without leaving your note. This is something you can control in your settings. So if you go to Settings, Notes, notice here that if you type the equal sign to suggest calculation results, that's a feature you can decide to turn on or off, much like the slash command. I would think you'd want slash command on. You may or may not want calculation, personal preference, so choose to your liking. But we now have this option. I do like to tell people, the first thing they want to do is they want to do this in a table. Okay, so that does work in a table, but this is not calculations in terms of having what you would get in Google Sheets or Excel, right? So I can't do a sum, right? And try to sum these. This isn't that. This is basic calculations. For those of you who use them up here in Spotlight, I can do the same thing up here. 2 + 2 = 4. It's that level of functionality just within the note editor now. And maybe it may be a step in the direction towards this kind of functionality. I don't know. There's no database functionality like this built into the Evernote note editor currently, but maybe they're headed that way. This is an interesting first step. We'll see what comes from it. All right. So that's the live demo there. All right. Focus mode. I love this. So we talked about at the beginning of the presentation how Evernote's really kind of focused on focus. I think I mentioned it, but it's something I talked about in my newsletter even today. There's like 8 to 10 ways now that you can create focus and a distraction-free environment in the spot where you collect all your data. In my account, I've got 40,000 notes in my real account, my main account. This is a demo account. And so I have to rely on these focus features in order to not get distracted by the interface. And Evernote's doing so much to support me in that. A brand new way that you may not be aware of is just released last month. You can minimize distractions by automatically hiding the toolbar. So this is the toolbar, the formatting toolbar up here when typing a note, and then it'll reappear when you move your mouse again, so you can easily access the tools when needed. So I don't have the feature turned on. Let's go show you where you can turn it on. But if you go to Settings and you go to Notes, and you choose hide toolbar by typing, see these focus things. So here's the inline. If you want to hide the inline hint for slash commands, by the way, this isn't new, but the position of it's new. You used to access it over here. In 2025, they moved it into this focus section, which I think makes much more intuitive sense. Now we've got the hide toolbar while typing. So now watch what happens to this as I type. It went away, okay? But as I move my mouse, it comes back, okay? As I type again. Okay. So you may or may not like that. It's up to you. Okay. It's an option. And then if you don't like it, you can go here, you can turn it off and hide the toolbar by typing. You can leave it on and sticky, or you can have it be responsive to how you're composing in the note editor. Okay, improved calendar management, released December 2025. We modernized how events and tasks appear in your calendar with a new pop-up that makes it easier to view and edit details. Select any item to create a linked note for the event or mark a task as complete without leaving the calendar. So this is, you may have noticed some UI changes. So they don't actually explicitly state it, but they've been kind of modernizing all these little parts and pieces and icons within the app. And it's been pretty subtle, but it's been pretty paramount within the calendar app. You can see that this has been strongly modernized. And the calendar here has gotten a UI refresh as well. And so I think that's what they're talking about here, but I think they also made it easier to like click them off right here and have the task completed without leaving this as well. So certainly an option. And then I get a frequent question, which I'll just cover right here, is if you don't want tasks to show up here, you can just hide the tasks so they don't appear, and you can rely on the tasks kingdom to manage your tasks if you don't want them on your calendar. So there you go. See the difference as well. All right, moving on. Jump down here. All right, that's the first section. The second section that they talk about is search. Search, as I say, is creating great notes is only half the story, because that's really about workflow and note editor improvements. It's just as important to find them quickly later. Over the course of the year, they improved the core search of Evernote so you can surface, write content in fewer steps. Okay. We saw massive innovation in search, and we're going to continue to see more in 2026. Here's what improved this year. They cover this in bullet points. So before September, they redid the entire search modal. So this used to be a field. Now it's a button, and it brings it up into the middle of the screen. You've probably noticed it. It just simply works better than it did before. So a lot of people recognize that it changed, but they didn't necessarily know how. We have all of these. We have recent searches, saved searches, chronological searches, and these are all options you can filter up here based on what you've got selected on the side. There's key commands to access this. I can hit on Mac, I can hit Command K, brings up the search modal. You can see down here, we can use our arrow to select and navigate around. The open to, again, I don't have to take my hands off the keyboard. I can just use the key commands that are here to access different things and create links to these events or these notes as they appear. I can open it in a new window. It's really, really powerful. So like if I'm going like this and I want to just open this in a new window, I can do that. And here we are. I mean, it's a transformation on the search modal that really can transform how you're using Evernote. So great improvements there. The speed of it works well, and the accuracy and the find mechanism behind it was completely rewritten and released and works really, really well. Okay, so that's a bit of a demo. Smarter suggestions as you type, more complex, more complete results. There was like a cap in there. Now it's infinite results. So you're going to bring up as many results as match your search term, as opposed to being capped at 128. I don't know if you ever noticed that, but it was really frustrating for users like me who have really large accounts. And if I searched a word like Evernote, to only find the first 128 notes, big problem for me. That's all been alleviated. Cleaner in-note matches, so it's easier to spot what you're looking for. So this is just a UI thing. And then new keyboard shortcuts to navigate a search from anywhere on your device. So if you go to the keyboard shortcut area for your device, so it varies depending on if you're Mac or Windows, but you go to keyboard shortcuts, type the word search, you're going to see the filtered list of searches. This one was a new option to launch the search modal. A lot of people would use the quick switcher, which still has a lot of merit, but the quick switcher and search are kind of like starting to merge in functions because of the way they work. So a lot of inspiration from that using the Command K, or if you're on Windows, it's going to be slightly different, but similar. You can find it the way I just showed you on your machine. All right. Showed you the live demo there. Okay, improved filtering, released in December 2025. Mostly a UI thing here. They streamlined search filters with a more compact filter menu and a clearer view of your active filters to keep your results front and center. When you search in your tags and filters, your search stays visible when you scroll results. So let me just type the word Evernote and had to do a search here. Hopefully it'll launch. Yeah, that's just what you want it to see. That's not their I don't know why that's not working. Okay. Oh, there it goes. Let's see. All right. So Evernote, 952 notes found, right? So now if I look here, you can see that this UI has been modernized, and they make it a little bit easier to say where things are, right? So we've got this really clear in the interface as well. Okay, so some nice UI improvements there. All right. And then they do say in their article, coming soon, search will be more powerful than ever in 2026. This is accurate. We're going to see a lot of new search options because AI is coming. Semantic search, AI assistant, both of these are innovation on search. And really what they don't say in the article that I think is important to understand, and we'll hear much more about this in the year ahead, but everything's moving towards finding based on meaning, not just keywords. So search has always been so dependent on keywords. Now it's going to be dependent, or it's going to be expanded to better understand what you're trying to find as opposed to exactly what you're trying to find. So again, to be continued, but that's where it's going. All right, moving on quickly. Look and Feel, released in October 2025. They rebranded, as you know. So let me clear this. I would love for, see, I'm finding this a little unintuitive. I think this is something that they're still working on. I'd love to clear this search so Evernote's not highlighting. They don't really make it easy for me to do that, right? Go off the home. That should do it. But, you know, that was a little clunky. They'll figure it out. Look and Feel. Okay. Obviously, we have a new brand. Here's a picture of the evolution. They've rebranded, or the company has rebranded twice in its history. You can see what's happened here. And then they brought that to their website as well. They also brought it within the app. So specifically, if you go to the cover photos in home here, you'll notice that there's some new options. So if you go to change, you can see here, they brought some of the version 11, and then kind of this is their new look and feel, and some new options there as well. Or you can upload your own as before, no problem. Okay, and that's really what they talk about in their blog article. I'm going to cover a couple more that are not specifically mentioned, but I think are noteworthy and I know are on your mind. Number one, their service tier repackaging. We talked about this in the recap from last month, and I talk about it a lot in the Academy. They rebranded and repackaged their accounts and recharged for them. If you were on previously personal or professional, you're automatically rolled into advanced. You need to proactively downgrade to starter. I'll preemptively answer the question that is on everyone's mind who hasn't already heard this. You will not lose your data or your organization. You just will be unable to create anything that exceeds the cap that is on the starter plan. This is clearly a big factor for a lot of users, so something to look at. They do have several help and learning articles about it, but it was very noteworthy in 2025. In addition, security. So they didn't mention this in their post, but they achieved this in November 2025. They became ISO 27001 certified, which is a leading international standard for information security. Doesn't sound easy to get. I'm not really familiar with it, but they have details about it on their webpage. And for many users, that will be a nice sign that they care about your security. They also don't discuss this in their materials, but they launched a satellite site strategy. If you go to evernote.com, you're going to notice that there are, under the Explore area, several sites here. These are actually functions that live independently and are available to everyone, Evernote users and non-Evernote users alike. And it's kind of like a little playground for them to quickly release extensions of the functionality of Evernote and kind of test out if there's something that they want to bring inside the app or not. So obviously the AI meeting note taker, this was released as a satellite site, a standalone site for everyone prior to it being brought into the app. And this may give you a little hint about some of the functionality that we may see come into the app in 2026. It also provides them an opportunity to have non-users experience some of the more powerful features of Evernote without having to create an account. Obviously, they're attempting to illustrate the features and want people to create an account. So this gives people a chance to kind of play with it. And you can kind of look at these types of things. A lot of people don't know about, like this diagram feature or this AI detector. Those are things you can look at as well. All right. Also, early in the year, they revamped the whole templates experience over here, and it's amazing. It finally solved it. We had templates were really frustrating before the revamp, and now they have been reorganized and they work intuitively and how they should. It also made that the daily notes feature, which Evernote, you can define any template to be automatically created in your account once a day. This has been kind of a game changer for several of us inside the Academy. We talk about how we use this and it supports our productivity. And the template revamp was a big part of that. We now have a template sidebar. You can designate any note to be a template, and it doesn't have to live. It doesn't matter where it lives in your account. You can have access to it via the template sidebar here. It actually is the proper design for templates within Evernote. So users are pretty excited about that. And they did innovate on collaboration quite a bit as well. We have inline comments. You might have noticed here. I could, where are they? Oh, if you highlight copy, you can write a comment. Notice it's a beta feature. They released it and then they didn't do a lot with it. So I'm guessing, I don't really know for sure, but it seems likely that they would kind of come back to innovating on this over time next year once they get through the version 11 release. But it is a new feature as of this year. You can see more about it by hovering over these things and looking at the next actions. The Evolve Share button, they revamped this share experience here, both for sharing with users and non-users. It makes so much more sense. It's a great evolution of it. Again, something we talk about extensively inside the Academy. And we have the ability to open any note in not only its own window, but in the Light editor, which is the ability for you to share notes with users and non-users alike. It turns any of your notes into a web page. And we've had Light editor innovation on that as well. But you can see your note renders really very closely to what you're seeing inside the app. And they quickly iterated on that with support for unlimited note viewers. So the power in that is if I'm presenting and I want 1,000 people to be looking at that URL at the same time, that's now possible. People can request access to shared notes. This is very similar to like a Google Docs experience where if you don't set your permissions right, somebody can, and you want them to be able to look at it, they can just click a button and you get a notification. And then you can open any note in the Light editor, which I showed you there as well. And then they ended the year with this preparation and preview, and they talk about this in their blog post. They shifted their focus to building version 11. And, you know, it may just feel like a feature release, but the reality is it's a culmination of 2 years of them laying new technical foundations, improving sync and speed, and delivering hundreds of features and refinements. They're focusing on 3 transformative AI features. If you're a paid user, you likely have access to all 3 of these today. If not, you should very, very shortly. And they're rolling out beta previews. And then once the version 11 releases, all users, even free users, will be able to experience these features. And I expect we'll see a lot of innovation on them quickly. I'm training on all of these features inside the Academy. We already have this masterclass set. And January, the dates are set to cover these 2 features since all users will have them. We covered AI meeting notes, which they did in November. Started rolling out in November. All paid users should have access to that now. Notably, you can record and transcribe up to an hour. There's speaker recognition. We have meeting summary. You can access it from the insert and slash menu. You can favorite it. And it's just a little sneak peek as to what's to come. Whew. All right. That's their blog post, along with my editorial comments on what I think it makes sense to take a look at. Anybody get familiar with a feature they may have missed? Love to hear it. I'm also curious what your favorite feature from 2025 is. So go ahead and cue that up. I'll take a couple of questions. I went my full 45 minutes, but certainly, you know, if you're looking for additional information on this, the easiest way is to join my newsletter, just harmonenterprises.com/newsletter. It's a free newsletter. I email weekly, keep users up to date on what's going on there. Lots of people stay on there for years and years and years. You don't even have to become my customer to get value out of that. And if you're looking to take it a step deeper, you're welcome to join me inside the Academy, where we do all the training and discussion and conversation about all of these new things. So let me look at your questions and see what I can answer in our time remaining. Oh my gosh, I'm with you. The new template setup, that is awesome, right? Okay. Oh, good. Well, any improvements to finding a searched term inside a note with multiple PDF? For me, Evernote does not highlight a search term in the PDF. Yeah, I mean, that's a real strong detail that I'd have to actually test out. I find that changes with releases. I would report those kinds of inconsistencies directly to Evernote. They have a form that you can either submit a feature or you can submit a tech request. But that's a super nuanced thing that I'd have to test out and see how it's working. I find it works a lot for me. But search term inside a note with multiple PDFs, like that's a detail that I'm not sure if that's what's causing it or if it's just PDF search or not. I mean, I think their intent is to be able to run a search. If it appears in the PDF, have that information highlighted and visible to you as a user. And you can see actually in their blog post, they do talk about in the find or search section improved visuals for that. I think they're hinting at that as well. Okay. Only recently noticed that merging multiple notes with these recordings hits a ceiling for max note size can make it difficult to keep all your project notes together. So there's still caps. You can only have so much data in an individual note. Evernote's been like that forever. So if you're as we start to use these data intensive things in Evernote, like transcriptions and audio recordings, it seems intuitive that you could hit your note cap quicker. The answer to that, in my view, is note links and how you organize your system. I mean, I know notes are getting longer, especially with collapsible sections. So this is workflow design versus feature. This hits to what I talk about a lot. All the apps, 100% of them have opportunities and constraints. And there's going to be constraints with Evernote as well. And so workflow design is how you structure your workflow and your note taking to map to your end goal. And there's lots of workarounds. That's the type of thing we talk about in the Academy. So yeah, I agree. But this is the thing with the innovation of Evernote, we have to continue innovating our workflows. And that's the type of thing I love talking about and we do inside the Academy. Okay. All right. Looks like I got most of them. Was there a question? Does the Evernote calendar still mirror the Google Calendar? Yeah. I mean, there's still an official integration with Google. If you connect your Google Calendar or your Google account to Evernote, you can display those events and it cross syncs. So nice and useful. And yeah. And that's a good workaround. There's a nice workaround. I've considered using AI to transcribe the recording and then deleting the recording to keep everything in one note. Yeah. I mean, that's certainly a solution. So I like that. I might use a note link. I might put the transcription or the original file in a different note and then just link over to it. But there's multiple ways to get the end result, and you've hit on a couple of them. Okay. So I love this question. Do you have a recommendation video or class on workflow design? I mean, this is what I do in the Academy. So that's it. This is the art of it. Workflow design is the art of Evernote. And in the Academy, I teach you the skills, which are all the features. There's like the largest repository of feature training. And then we also talk about the workflows, like how do you design that? So I'm not trying to have a shameless pitch here, but that's the art of Evernote. And that's what we cover. And we cover the evolution of that as the features change our options. So there's that. Are they considering allowing iCal someday? So good question. I don't think the answer is no. I think this is the more people request it, the more they'll consider putting it on the roadmap. They talked explicitly about how they were pursuing it and then why they stopped pursuing it. It has to do with a lot of technicality and the percentage of users that would be impacted. So if you want that, this is the type of thing to submit to Evernote as a feature request. They are listening to that. Did I understand correctly that existing subscriptions will be automatically upgraded to Starter or Advanced with the release of version? They're already yes. If you are on Personal, you're automatically going to be rolled into Advanced. So you have to proactively downgrade. Their help and learning section talks to you about how to do that. And that's a rolling rollout that's happening right now. So you'll get a month advance. You'll get an email a month in advance telling you that your subscription's renewing. So whenever that happens in the next year, you're going to be rolled automatically into Advanced. And so if you don't want that, you need to proactively downgrade. And when can we expect them to extend meeting transcription to over 1 hour? I don't know, but I know they want to. So they have said that once they get through the version 11 release, they're going to start investigating options for how to extend that time. Probably the most popular feature request for that as well. All right. And if the AI feature, how do you know if the AI features have been enabled on your account? So a couple of things. The first thing I would do would be to look here at the settings and look at this AI features and see how many of these you have. If you've got them here, they're in your account. They come, if you only have like the AI assistant, which is this little icon down here, you'll probably only have that one. Then other than that, you have to be on a paid plan, and they are rolling out. I don't know what the deployment percentage is, but if you're on a free plan, you don't have them. You won't have them until version 11. And I don't know what the path is or how quickly they're rolling them out, but that's how it goes. All right. Thank you all for being here. Great to see you live. And as Evernote continues to do monthly updates, my plan is to kind of do this kind of thing. So December was a biggie because they released a blog post telling you about all that's new, but certainly I'll continue to do this. If you stay subscribed to my list, I'll push out that information to let you know when the next one is scheduled, or subscribe to the channel. It should notify you as well. All right. Happy New Year, everybody. And look forward to seeing you in 2026. Till then.